Whoop-de-doo! Now we're gonna build the engine. That's what I have my engine building hat on. So, first things first, I have to put the cam bearings in. I did not have the machine shop do that. I'm gonna put the cam bearings in myself. I got these off of Rock Auto, so they're pretty cheap set, but they're gonna work. It's an old diesel engine. It's gonna work. So, I have cam bearings there. I have a cam bearing installer here. Let's see, what else are we going to do on this? I have to install the crankshaft. Okay, so cam bearings go in before the crankshaft. Crankshaft will go in after that. I have all the tools to install the freeze plugs here on the side. And other than that, I'm just going to see how far I can get. But I don't know if I'm going to get much past that. So I will get on to the cam bearings here now. So the idea for cam bearings is pretty simple. There's holes inside here, and all I have to do is put the camshaft bearing up to it and get this here and hammer it into place. I've got this big long rod here, and I'm going to use that to aid in helping to hammer this piece in. I would use this end piece here, but it doesn't quite fit, so I'm just going to use this bit right here. So I'll put that on the end. I'm going to start with that end. So as I slowly pull the shaft here back out of the cam lobe or the bearings there, I can then install them one at a time as I pull it backwards instead of getting this stuck in there. So first things first, I'm going to clean all the oil off of the galleys inside there. Now this rule goes for any bearings really in general, but I'll say it for these cam bearings. What you want is to make sure the surfaces touching each other that you don't want moving are clean. So the outside of the bearing here needs to be free of oil, and the inside of the hole there for where the cam bearing is going to go needs to be clean as well. After the fact, you can oil up the inside of this bearing, but you don't want this bearing moving inside the block. Otherwise, it will wear out the block and it's junk. So, what we got going on right now is I've got that cleaned inside there. I got the outside of this bearing cleaned as well. So you just want to make sure that this is the correct bearing to go inside this hole. They taper bigger, bigger, and bigger as it goes towards the front of the block. That's for putting the camshaft in, so that makes it easy. So this is the correct bearing that's going to go into this hole, and so I'm going to get the tool and put. Okay, I got the tool down inside here, and this might be a little difficult to follow along because I'm trying to do something I need about 4 hands to do. Let me sneak on by here real quick and get the bearing down inside there before I get the tool really set up. So I'm just going to drop it in sideways down there and sort of kind of put it up inside there. Okay. Right about like that looks good. Oh, come on. Quit thinking you don't fit. Okay, this is having a little bit of problems. But it will fit, so I'm going to go ahead with it. There's where I put that piece. Let's put that down inside there now. Let's push that up against that. I'm going to make sure it's good, and I'm going to tap on it just a little bit. Just make sure it will go in, and that did not go in, so I'm gonna get myself in a position I can hammer just a little bit better. Move the light a little bit. Okay, I can still see for the most part, so I'm gonna go with that. Put it about right there. Let's try it again. Okay, it's not wanting to go in. I'm gonna pull it back out and make sure that it's not too big for this one. No, scratch that. It's starting to go in. It's just going in just a little bit crooked, so it doesn't want to go in very far. Let's change that by hitting the other side of the bearing. There we go. Okay, now it's starting to go in straight. I'm going to rearrange this. And there we go. Now it's going in. Okay. Straighten it out again. Now I'm going to do my best to send her home this time. Oops, that's my light. Okay. It's almost there. Yeah, it's definitely going in. I'll keep going. Okay, just very close. Is that all the way in? Not quite. It's not flush yet. A couple more taps to go. I can definitely see that the hole is able to accept oil now to the camshaft. So at least it will get oil, and I can see that. So that makes me feel good. There we go. I'm confident that's seated now. I'm going to pull that tool back out. There we go. That's that out of there. That's that tool out of there. Made a little bit of a indentation on the side there because of the casting, but not something I'm concerned about. But looks like that hole in the bottom there will get oil. I can see it now. So that's good. I'm going to continue on with the other ones, but that's pretty much how it works. So I'll get the others done. It's another day. This is kind of just a hobby for me, so I don't work on this all in one go and just sort of get it all done in one shot. I work on multiple days, but glare's a little bad on that side. I'll move the camera to the other side, same as the light. But I got the camshaft bearings in. I'm going to go ahead and put the crankshaft in now. So I'll show you the process of how I do that. So right now, as you can see, I have test fitted the crankshaft onto my new bearings. So everything lines up pretty decently well right now. So I will have to do some cleaning up on the crankshaft because I've let it sit without as much oil as I should have. You can see right there it's not that great. So I will do my best to try to clean this up. But first I'm going to clean up these surfaces and make it so that that's really clean for when I put it back together. Right now is a good time to mention that the rear main seal should go in. So I have the bearing in right there. We've got this right here for making sure it doesn't go back and forth too much. And then we have the rear main seal that goes right there. This is why it's a pain to do a rear main seal. It's because you have to take the crankshaft out just about to get it replaced. Though I just mentioned talking about the thrust right there, this is the actual thrust bearing. It's in the middle on a 6.2. On a small block Chevy, the thrust bearing is in the back, I believe. It's different on a 6.2 diesel. It's in the middle. So the thrust bearing prevents the crankshaft from going forward and backwards too much by having a surface there for the crankshaft to ride up against. Like if you're pushing with the clutch on the back of the engine, it pushes the crankshaft forward just a little bit, and when you let off, it lets the crankshaft go back, so that prevents any of the actual motor crankshaft inside of the crankshaft here to actually touch the mains. So I'm going to clean this up now. So this is a rear main seal right here. You can see there is a small and a big side for where it holds stuff in. So this is the big angle on this side, and this is the short angle. This one right here is for keeping dirt outside of the engine. All it's meant to do is ride so that no debris gets inside the engine. This side over here is for keeping oil from coming out. So this side keeps stuff in, this side keeps stuff out. So that's the way that the rear main seal goes in. This side goes towards the front of the engine, this side goes towards the back of the engine, which is almost not there because it's so far back on the engine. So let me put this in. The way this goes in is to clean the back side of the engine, just like I did for all the other bearings. It's just that this rubber here is going to stick better, so as long as this doesn't spin, it doesn't. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter because it probably matters quite a bit if this spins. It's probably going to eat it up entirely, and then the rear main seal's useless. So make sure that's cleaned up over there. Clean up the sides of this, put it in, and put oil on it when you install the crankshaft. I'll walk you guys along as I put the crankshaft in. I put the rear main seal in on this side. I have all the bearings in, and the one thing that I didn't do was get the lube ready. Where is my knife? There's my knife. So I got my knife here. Cut the top off real quick. There we go. Obviously too big of an opening because you never can cut something open right. So let's continue. So all you need is, oh, okay. Yeah, brand new. Okay. There we go. There. It'll make the engine run very well with that piece of plastic in there. So anyway, this goes on right about like that, just a little bit. Of course, you want to lubricate too much. It's always good to have too much lubrication rather than not enough, so make sure it's on there very well. I'm going to get it onto the rear main seal as well. If it leaks out on the ground, it leaks out on the ground. Anyway, I'm going to get this all on in there. You can probably see the purple going on there very thick. So that's ready to go. So let's put that off to the side now. I got the crankshaft here. Normally you want to lubricate both things before it goes in, but this one's pretty difficult to lubricate the mains there, so I'm just going to put it together. And in we go. There we go. Oh yeah. That's real loose. It's going to get a whole lot looser as well when I put the mains on and actually bolt them down, because as of right now, they're kind of egg-shaped down in there. The tops of the bearings kind of go up too far. They touch the bottom, and they're a little bit oval-esque. So as soon as the two sides of the bearings go down together and get torqued down, it's going to open up just a little bit, and it's going to be very free spinning. So after those go on, then we'll try it again. But now I have to clean up the mains and get them bolted on. Now we get to the fun part. I have cleaned up the main caps, and I am going to get to lubricate them and put bolts in and torque them down. So I'll get to that. Here's my oil. Put the bearing and the main seal in the rear cap here. You know, I'll explain on the next cap what I was just thinking about. But yeah, so the oil goes on here. Really lubricate it up well. On the back side here. Put on the rear main seal so that it doesn't tear. Okay, just like that. Now we flip it over and put it on top. There we go. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of bolts in, but real quick. Now's a good time to mention that these have to be lubricated, just the threads, a little bit of engine oil or something. Just a little bit, just to get some oil on the end so that it torques down at a reasonable pace. You don't want to pour oil down in the hole where the bolt's supposed to go, because if you do that, and it pools up down inside there, when you torque down the bolts, they will blow right through the bottom of the block and make it useless. It's going to build up pressure down inside there, and we don't want that. So just get a little bit of oil on the end of the threads there, just enough to give it some lubrication as it gets torqued down. Okay, I'm going to put this one in right there. Then I'm going to explain what I was just about to say before I put this one on. Let's go to the next cap here. See, there are no holes on this side. On the other one, there's a hole right in the center. You want that one on the block side. You don't want to put the one with the hole on the cap side, because then you won't get any oil to the bearing. This is very important because the oil pressure comes from the block side, goes into the bearing, and it pressurizes inside here. Then, if you can see on the crankshaft, I doubt you'll be able to see it in the video here. There are holes in the main bearing surfaces on the crankshaft. There's holes that are drilled out to go to the piston lobes here. You can see those here. So there's a hole here that goes to here and gives oil to the connecting rods. And that's how the oiling works for those bearings. But you cannot put the hole on this side, otherwise there will be no oil going to anything. So just wanted to mention that quick. On these caps specifically, there is an arrow pointing forward, and this one says 4. So it goes the fourth back. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and an arrow pointing forward. Not all engines do that, so make sure you know what you're doing so that it will go in the right spot. I did not see that when I was taking it apart, so I put 4 punch marks onto this cap so that I knew it was going to be 4. And now that it's all cleaned up and ready to go back together, I know that this is the correct main that goes here. In case they had switched it up at some point, but this is the correct one, so it's going to go on there now. I'm going to get this to a position I can actually put the bolts in. So this will be an interesting one, because now we're getting to the section of the block where I actually fixed it. So on the outside, you're going to have to buy new bolts. Fortunately for you guys, I have already bought the bolts that you need. These are M10s, M10 metric bolts. They are 75 millimeters long, and they're cap bolts. Thread pitch is 150, I believe. So those are the bolts you're going to need to go on the outsides here. Oh, I forgot to lubricate these. Bear with me. Actually, I just have a cat with me, not a bear this time. Cat's been walking in and out of my shop here. I don't know why, but usually you'll have a bear with you. I'll worry about that one later. Right now is a point where I would do a music montage over. I'm going to do it just quietly because I know we all want to hear the click, but this one's not a click. This one's a beep. This one's snap-on, so it's going to beep. So I'll add some music, but it's just going to beep. In between, these are 100 foot-pounds, these are 110 foot-pounds. If I had a click type, I would be using click type, but I don't, so I'm doing this. Sorry for the inconvenience of no actual click, but we're getting through it. So you guys might see that those middle 6 there did not actually click when I did the torque wrench. That's because I looked it up and those bolts should take less torque. Depending on which size bolts you get, mine are 10.9, so I could probably go higher than an 8.5 or 7.8. I don't even remember what they are. But yeah, pretty much those are less torque, so be careful of that. Don't over torque them. They're smaller and less firm bolts than those. But that's going to be about it for this. I don't have time to do the freeze plugs this week. I'll do those next week. Just make sure that when you put a pause on working on the engine, I don't want these to rust over now. Now that they're inside the engine, I'm going to hit it all with penetrating oil so that it stays wet, and then I'll wipe it down before I put assembly lube on it. But yeah, so that's going to be it for now. This crankshaft is in, everything's torqued down, and that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching.